Welcome to Called to Homeschool with your host, Meg Thomas. I am a mother of 7 with 5 homeschool graduates. Each week, we'll talk about real-life homeschool, mindset shifts, and practical tools you can use in your home. Because homeschooling isn't just about school, it's about restoring the family. Hi friends, how are you today? Welcome back to another episode. Hope you are doing well. We are doing another reader's question. I've really liked doing these. These are so fun. So just remember, if you have a question, you can fill out a form on my Instagram, Coach Meg Thomas, or it is in my weekly newsletter. So make sure you're on that so you can ask your question and I can dive into it because, as you know from listening to the podcast, I can be a little long-winded, and sometimes it's good because you want a little bit more depth to some of your questions. So this one comes from a girl with a lovely name, Megan. She's from Iowa. So she talks about that she is a ranch wife with a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old. She says, we read, take trips, do chores, and all the things in between. I know my oldest technically doesn't have to start school until age 6. My problem is I'm working on teaching them letter recognition, and they have minimal interest. They ask to do school stuff. We have the good and the beautiful pre-K, but when we do it, zero interest. How do I get them more interactive or find alternative ways to teach them letter recognition, writing? They can write their names, but teaching recognition is tough. They are very much outdoor craft movement children and have minimal interest in this specifically. We read at home and I try to point out the letters, but when asked later to see what is remembered from the good and the beautiful, it's saying things like showing them a B and they will go ba, ba, C. Is this something that is concerning or just something they will learn eventually? Their intelligence in other topics is great. They just seem to be my personal struggle or concern. They love to ask, hey mom, what does X word start with? So I know, what does this word start with? So I know they want to learn, just torn on alternatives. And then she has this another question we'll get to at the end too. Okay, first of all, I love your life. I love that your kids you're reading with them, taking trips and doing chores. And if you listen to my episode a few weeks back about the core phase, you're doing so many beautiful, beautiful things with your children. So please, please, please don't take their struggle or not focus, whatever word you want to use there, of not reading or letter recognition as a sign that you're failing, because you are doing so many beautiful and wonderful things. So I hope that you remember that. But I want to dive into this about reading. And let's go. So we live in a culture that pushes early academics. What kindergarten now looks like is what first or second grade used to look like. 5-year-olds are expected to decode. 6-year-olds are expected to read independently. 7-year-olds are expected to write paragraphs. And when our child doesn't match that timeline, fear creeps in. But here's what we have to remember. Reading is not a race. It is a developmental skill, and a developmental skill is not identical for every child or every person. And it's so interesting because we don't hold adults to these types of standards, right? I can't imagine of somebody telling me like, well, you learned to make sourdough in your 40s. That is embarrassing. And I learned it from my daughter's friend who was in her young 20s. Wow, she must be so much better than I am. Like, we don't do that for adults. We just say, oh, I learned to make sourdough in my 40s, and that is amazing. And I think it's really fun. Or whatever skill that somebody has, like I can change a tire, I can fix a hole in the house, wall, whatever. Like, nobody cares when we learn it as an adult. And it's so interesting that just as a society, we hold this weird standard for children. They're like, you should be doing this. And so maybe you're getting comments from people. And so that's when I like to have something ready. Like, we're just going on their timeline. They'll get it, or making a joke or something like, oh yeah, they're probably just going to throw this kid out and try a new one, right? Like, whatever works for you, if that's what you're worried about. But reading is with skills and whatnot. We allow adults no timeline. There's no, like, you have to learn this. And if you see somebody older in college, you're not like, that's embarrassing. It's like, that's amazing that you're going to college, right? And so it's just this weird timeline we have with children that we hold them to, like they have to learn this skill at the same time. So some children are ready to read at 5, some at 7, some at 8 and 9, some are even later than that. And that range can all still be normal. Brain development, especially visual tracking, auditory processing, and symbolic reasoning, does not click at the same time for every child. You can push skills before readiness, but you cannot force neurological maturity. When a child is ready, reading often accelerates quickly, and I can say amen to that 1,000 times from experience of doing that when children are ready. And I actually do that with other things in our life, like potty training. And if somebody else wants to, like my kid is 2, I just start potty training, more power to you. But I have just waited till my kid is ready, and that has saved me so many headaches and so many accidents. And so I love that idea of just waiting till they are ready. That doesn't mean I'm not doing anything of preparing them or getting them ready or for love of learning or whatever the skill is, but I'm not forcing it. I am waiting for it. I have seen children go from struggling readers to fluent readers in 1 year simply because readiness clicked. And you can do that with so many different skills, with math, with chores, with understanding something, piano, whatever it was, just because it clicked. So not because you found the magical curriculum. I will share with you the curriculum I prefer, but it is not magical. It's just one that I like. And because the brain matured. So it is interesting. And you didn't say whether or not you had boys or girls, just that your kids were little. And they sounds like you're a rancher's wife, so you're probably outside a lot. And I can imagine just from my own boys that it tended to be my boys more who were late readers than my girls. And especially if they're out playing, they are learning so much with their physical body that they maybe just don't really have the capacity yet to just sit. And I wish I had this study off the top of my head, but a study about like taking the age of the child and then taking you times it by something, and then if they're a boy or girl, it changes like what their ability to focus and how long their ability to focus and their attention span is so much shorter than we think it is. And so a lot of times we're frustrated that kids can't do this stuff. Like, well, a 5-year-old only has the attention span of maybe, let's say, a few minutes, right? And so like it sounds like your kids are developmentally just fine. You're reading to them, you're playing with them, you're doing life with them. And so they are gleaning so much just from that. So here is my little soapbox about the good and the beautiful. So I'm in some Charlotte Mason Facebook groups, and somebody was asking about it, and some people love it. So if you love it, just pause this part. But somebody described it as a mile wide and an inch deep. Like there's just so much stuff, but there's not a whole lot of depth to it. I see the good and the beautiful almost fire hosing so much information. And it was interesting. I tried it with my last guy. I tried it with multiple of my kids. I don't know why I stray from something, because it is very pretty. It is so pretty. And the idea behind it is so good. But out of my 7 kids, only one of them liked it. And this is my kid who's the most academically driven, and a girl. If somebody has boys out there that are like rough and tough and love that kind of stuff, who love it, please let me know. But a lot of times moms feel good about it because it feels very checklisty, like I'm teaching everything I feel like I should be teaching them. But I have seen it kill so many people's love for learning. And it is so much information at such a young age that I could see why a child would be very burned out or not very interested. Like, we want to learn, but a lot of times the good and the beautiful, if it's not clicking, let it go. And so once again, if you love it, please keep it. There are lots of things there I like about it. I love their book recommendations. I like a lot of their other stuff. I just feel like some of their stuff is just way too much information, especially for these younger ages. So take that with a grain of salt, but I haven't seen it. Other than one of my kids, it did not work for any of them. And this is that, like I said, it was my most academically driven child who would have been just fine in public schools, and she would have really excelled. And the rest of them are like, this is awful. Please don't make me do this. So just a thought with that one. But what to do instead? So what to do instead of teaching kids to read? And I was going to tell you how I've done it for years. There are lots of other things out there. But once again, like, you're doing a great job with teaching, like reading to them is really, really big. But as you're doing that and you're just trying to ignite a little bit of excitement, right? And so maybe they want to do school, but it can be really games and playing. I can tell you, like, I've taught most of my kids to count by playing games like Sorry, because they wanted to know what the number was. And then we have to count the spaces. Candyland, you don't have to count, but you could do colors with that one. I'm trying to think of Chutes and Ladders if there's counting in there. So a lot of stuff like that. One of my kids really wanted to learn to read to play Monopoly. So just like by playing with them and doing some things that you can get them really excited. But as you are just like living life with them, right? Teaching them the basics, let's sing the ABCs, right? And so that can just be when you're out and about, or if you're doing school and we're going to sit there, we're going to sing the ABCs, and then letter recognition. So if you have an alphabet timeline, you just print it off, but then we're pointing to the letters A, B, C, D, right? And so now we're actually starting to recognize the letters. And I have used Happy Phonics for all my children. I believe it is on Amazon. I don't know if it's still there, but the whole thing is completely just teaching them phonics with games, and it works wonderfully. letters. And that's what I've taught all my kids to read with. I've also utilized scripture study with it. And I feel like there's something with utilizing scriptures, teaching a kid to read once they're a little bit further along, that has just really helped all my children's reading to become so much better. So anyways, so you're singing the alphabet and then you're starting to just point at the letters. So we're not jumping into phonics yet, right? We're just recognizing the letters. So we have our little timeline of pointing to the letters A, B, C, D, right? And then we're just pointing out letters wherever we go, like, oh, there's a B. Who else can find a B? Oh, let's see if we can do it, right? So if you're traveling and you're on a road trip of like, let's find these letters. What letter does your name start with? Okay, remember, M is the one with 2 humps. It looks like a camel with 2 humps. N is a camel with 1 hump, right? It was just a big circle. Let's see if we can find that. That's fun, right? So it's fun and exciting to start looking for these letters and start recognizing them. And when they start doing that, then I just go to flashcards, so that I'm literally holding up a flashcard and we're A, B, K, S, D, E, right? And so then we're just slowly introducing those things. And you can do it cutesy. I know there are curriculums out there that do it cutesy. I just do flashcards as they're ready, right? We teach their stuffed animals. We have fun with it. We play games with it. And even with letter recognition, we call it from the mamas and the babies, the capitals to the lowercase. There are games. There's so many things that it was fun to learn these skills. And then I use Happy Phonics once my kid is ready. I will tell you, my 2 latest readers have become my best readers. My oldest was actually my latest reader, and he was my one who did private school for 1 year in kindergarten. We pulled him out and he couldn't read at all, and he just lost any skills that he had there. And so I thought, well, we're just going to start over. And so I found Happy Phonics. It was around back in ye olden days. And we just did it, and we just started all the way at the very beginning of just the very basics and having fun with it. And by the 4th grade, he read the Iliad and the Odyssey and understood it. And so I am a big believer of just allowing them that space of, like, 5-year-olds don't have to read. The more I've homeschooled and I see other veteran homeschool moms, I don't wait till 8, but I know a lot of homeschool moms that are like, I don't even start till 8, but I just start really, really simple. And so having a lot of fun with it. And then I think you said writing in there too. And so how can you make it fun? Do we get an expo marker and write on glass? Do we trace with our fingers? Do we do something that's a little bit more fun and exciting? And so as far as once they get going, I love Handwriting Without Tears, and I also love for a hand workbook, I just forgot the name, Explode the Code, and for once they get going and just really helping them learn the things. And that's what I've done for all 7 of my kids. That's what I recommend. I really love it, doing it that way. So just something to remember. No one asks adults when they learn to read. Nobody cares. I don't even know what age I was when I learned to read. I just know I can read. And so in the long term, nobody cares when your kid read. I don't know why it's this weird scrutiny now. Like, ooh, I'm so fancy. My kid learned to read at 2 or 3, and which is super awesome. But there's nothing wrong with kids who learn to read at 9 and 10 also, because the fact is they learn to read. So as an adult, nobody is asking me, Meg, when did you learn to read? Instead, it was like, ooh, what are you reading? What's the last book you read? Did you like it? What do you think about it? Right? Those are the kinds of questions that I'm getting asked. And by middle school age, teenage age, early versus late reader difference is usually completely gone, and you cannot tell. So protect the relationship. It doesn't sound like that's an issue, but protect curiosity, because reading will come. So the second question is that she talked about is because her kids are 5, 4, and 3. I had my first 3 are that close, so super fun, a party. Do you recommend catering to each age group or teaching as a whole? So once again, you can try whatever works best for you guys. You can try doing it all together and see if people like it, or do they want it individualized. Sometimes you can just teach the 5-year-old and invite the 4 and 3-year-old to be there. And then if they're done, let them just kind of float away. Like, never mind, I'm bored. But if I am going to do something, I teach it to the oldest one, because I've seen the best results with that. And then say if your 4-year-old is passing the 5-year-old, then I probably would individualize it. But singing the songs that they're all right at that same level, the 3-year-old may not completely understand, but may have some fun with it because they just want to be included. And so you can totally pick and decide, like, we're going to do some stuff together. Maybe that's a game we're going to do together. There's so many fun games out there now. So maybe that looks like doing a game together or playing together, singing the song, just pointing out the letters, just some of those basic stuff. And then if you feel like somebody needs one-on-one help, then I would totally individualize it. I have over the years, because people ask me, how long does it take with my youngest? Because I didn't have a baby with him, I would just see how long it would take. And if we were just doing school, especially when he's little, it was so short, 5-10 minutes. And we were done. And right now it's just him and me for everything. So I don't have anybody else to do group subjects with because my 14-year-old is doing everything independently. We're still could be 30 minutes unless it really gets off on a tangent. Then we're maybe going to be a little bit longer, or if we bring in some big crafts or something like that. But like he's been doing this a while. He's almost 9 now. And so he's just been used to those types of things. So I hope that helped. Anybody else who's worried about their kids with reading, I love to just kind of simplifying it, making it fun so it's not stressing them out. So when they're like, you show them a B and they say C, of just laughing and having fun. They're not ready for it, right? So going back to the basics, whenever you go do something and it's just too hard for them, come back to the basics. Sing the ABCs. Point out the letters while you sing the ABCs and make it really easy and really fun, and you will create amazing success with that. So friends, have an amazing week. And if you have a question, make sure you submit it and I will talk about it on the podcast. Have a good one. Thanks so much for listening to Call to Homeschool. If today's episode was helpful, the best way you can support the show is by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more homeschool moms find this work, and I appreciate it so much.